Kristi Villani from My Quilting Loft. How are you? Hey, I have a great new block for us for our sew along, and this one is really fun, and you are totally prepared for all of the aspects of this. You've done half square triangles, and you've done squares, and that's really all there is to this one. So this one is really fun. This is so cute. Now this one is called the Weathervane, and it is number 106 on page 118 in our Quick and Easy Block Tool book. And so this one is, I really like this one a lot. I gotta tell you, isn't this so cute? But now I want you to notice something. Here you're seeing black in my background for the first time. All of my other ones, you've just seen all the colors that I've been using. Black is my background color. Now because of placement and because this is a mystery quilt, you're just going to have to take my word for it. If you haven't used your background fabric yet in any of your blocks, this one you're going to want to go ahead and use your background fabric in the perimeters. So you're going to want to, your A fabric is going to be your background fabric. And so whatever your A and C are both background fabric. And now that's, it's your quilt, it's your choice. If you wanted to pick something else, that's perfectly fine. It's not going to ruin it. But if you are following along with how I'm doing it, that's how you're going to want to do it. Now this block, as you can see, there's just a lot of squares. A lot of little squares, and you can cut them all individually and line them up and sew them together if you like. But I'm going to just show you a little shortcut for doing that. Basically, if you look here, can you see that okay? There are little 4 patches that are sewn together, and our little half square triangles, if we sew those together here, you've got some little flying geese. And if you hear a little squeaking in the background, it's my puppy. He has a chew toy, so just ignore the little squeaking. It's keeping him quiet. So anyway, so now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut 4 2.5-inch squares of your A fabric, your background fabric, and then you're going to want to cut, we're going to do the 8 at a time half square triangles. So you're going to want to cut 7-inch squares out of your C fabric. And so you're going to want 2 of those, 2 7-inch squares for each block. Yeah, 2 7-inch squares for each block of the background fabric. That's your C fabric. And then 1 7-inch square of your one color and 1 7-inch square of your other color. So, and those would be your D and B, your B and D fabric. So 7-inch squares of each of those, because you're going to do 8 half square triangles at a time. Super fun and easy way to do it. Let's jump right in with getting that done. We did that one in one of our previous blocks, so this should be a review for you. So you just want to line those up, right sides together, just so. Then take a ruler and you're going to draw lines corner to corner each way on both sets of these. Just like that. Oop. And I'm using a friction pen, but you could use a Sharpie if you want to, because this is eventually going to be the line you cut on. So don't worry about that. I like to use a friction pen though, because I could just see myself taking having a Sharpie out around my fabric at all. It just seems like a recipe for disaster. So I think a friction pin is nice and safe, because if I accidentally touch something that I don't want it to touch, I just touch with the iron and it's gone. So now you're going to do diagonal, and then you're going to take And because this is a 7-inch block, at your 3.5-inch line on your ruler, you're going to line that up right here. Make sure that your line is parallel to your cut, and your 3.5-inch line is exactly on your cut line here. And then make a mark there, and then do the same thing going the other way. And you're going to do that on both of your squares. Okay, now I recommend putting a couple pins in place to just hold that together because, you know, just in case. Now, do you remember when you do an 8.5 square triangles, 8 at a time, half square triangles, you remember which lines you're going to sew on? Trick question. You're not going to sew on any of the lines. You're going to sew 1/4 inch away from the diagonal lines, and you're not going to sew anywhere near the perpendicular lines. The T lines, those are just cutting lines, not sewing lines. And you're going to sew 1/4 inch away on both sides of all of the diagonal lines. So I'm going to do that real quick. Up one side and down the other. Just like that. Take my pins out and then do the next 1/4 inch away from the next diagonal seam or diagonal line. And then you're going to do that on all of your blocks. Now, you're going to make, oh, I didn't mention already. Okay, so you're going to want to make the 12-inch block size, and you're going to want 4 of them. And so make 4 sets of each set, and so that you can get all 4 of your blocks done at once. Since I'm just doing the tutorial here, I'm just going to do 1 block at a time. And so I'm just going to sew this one up. And then we'll cut them up, and then we're going to trim them down. Okay, so now we've sewn 1/4 inch away from each of our diagonal lines, and then we're going to just cut these up. Easy peasy. Now, if I had my rotating mat ruler here at home, I would probably be using that right about now. But I don't, so I'm going to use this right here. And then now what we're going to do is you're going to cut on all of the lines that you drew. So all of them. Just going to cut those up. Now I think this is a great way to make half square triangles. A lot of times when you're making half square triangles, you're going to make a bunch at a time anyway. So if you can figure out, if you're doing them scrappy, you might have to really kind of figure out how you're going to do it, which colors you're going to put together. That's no big deal. I think that would be fun. I can even just pop that right there. But yeah, I think this is a great way to make half square triangles. There are, there's papers that you can get that make half square triangles, that you put the paper on there and you sew on the lines and then you cut on the other lines. You can do it that way. You can cut the triangles, cut your squares, cut your triangles, line them up and then sew them. But that seems like the most challenging way to do it because you got all those open, you got bias edges when you do it that way. Okay, so now I just need to press these all to the dark side, and then I can trim them up. Right. Okay, so first thing you want to do is You want to square your block up. Now these are going to be 2.5 inches. So right now they're about 3 inches. So you've got plenty of room to trim these down. And so what I like to do is I like to line my diagonal line on my ruler right up there with the diagonal seam of that. And then, and now I don't have it here on the 2.5 inch yet. I'm just going for trimming this side down a little bit and getting rid of that dog ear. Then once I've done those, then I flip it around. And then I line my diagonal seam up once again. And now my left and bottom seams are lined right up with that 2.5 inch mark. And then, see, now I have a perfect little half square triangle. And see, now I could do all of these that same way, or I can cheat. It's not really cheating, it's like a little shortcut. I fold this back in half, and I can line that seam up parallel there with my other seam, and then use that as a guide of where to trim, and it works fine. Go like that, and then trim off those little points. And voila, I have another perfect little half square triangle that I trimmed down a little bit faster and easier. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just finish these all up real quick, and then we'll start right back up. Okay, so while I was trimming these all up, I took a little break and turned the fan on, because I think today is the day that they're saying is going to be the hottest day in record since they've been tracking temperatures in Oregon. And of course, this room here in my house is the hottest room in the house. Oh my goodness, it's hot. Okay, so now you've got all of your half square triangles all trimmed up and nice and cute. They're 2.5 inches little guys here. And then you're going to want to take and you're going to want to make, and now we've got the makings for our perimeter of our block. And now you're going to just make, you're going to strip piece together to make little 4 patches that are all going to come together here in the middle for the main body of your block. And so you're going to want to take 2, I would just do a fat quarter, you know, do the 22 inch length, as long as it's at least about 21 inches long, and 1 of each color of your 2 beautiful colors that you're going to use in the middle blocks. And so you're just going to sew those a 1/4 inch seam down the side, either side, and then you're going to press those and then make magic. Now the reason I say use the 22 inch width on your, if you're doing a fat quarter, is because this is an 18, and so I made a little one ahead of time, because I realized if 2.5 times 8 is 20, it's not 18. The 18 is not enough. So, okay, so you can see this okay over here. I'm going to press that seam flat, set that seam, and then I'm going to press it toward the dark side. press it. You want it nice and flat. You don't want any bumps in your seam. So you want that nice and flat. Okay. And having a wool iron mat really makes it so you can press those flat really nicely. I have a lot of rulers, and I like to use all the different rulers because for all different reasons. So now I'm going to cut these 2.5 inches wide, and so my first cut, I'm going to just square off that side. Use a line on your ruler, line it right up with your seam so that you can make sure that it's nice and straight. So you're not going to cut, what's the shape that's like this? A rhombus or something? I don't remember. So you're going to just cut these 2.5 inches, and you're going to want 8 sets of that 2.5 inch little bits like that. Now let's see if my 1/4 inch is exactly right. This should be 4.5 inches, and it is. That's awesome. This is one of those things that you can do to test your 1/4 inch seam. Is just sew two bits together, 2 strips together, I should say, and 2.5 inch strips sewn together like that. Press it flat, and then if it measures 4.5 inches when you're done, then your 1/4 inch seam is right on the money. I have 6. I have 6. Nope, I have 7. Oh, I just need one more. Okay, so now you're going to make 4 patches, and you want your colors to line up just like this. So use the drawing as a guide to make sure that you have those on there right. And it shouldn't matter, but because you could turn them and put them the right way. So now, see how that's going to work? Just like that. Then sew these together with a 1/4 inch seam, and you shouldn't need a pin. Just make sure that your seams lock nice and tight. And sew those together. Now really there are a lot of ways you could assemble this. You could just sew them in rows like this. I did this one that way, and it was kind of, I was like, well, these are little 4 patches. Why don't I just do that? That's a little bit easier. If I'm going to do this strip piecing, I may as well really go for it and teach you how to do little 4 patches while I'm at it. But you probably already know how to do those, would be my guess. Okay, there we go. You just chain piece those, and then cut my little thread. And voila! Cute little 4 patch. So you're just going to want to press that seam. Give them a quick press. It doesn't matter which direction that you press those now, because there's really not a dark side. They're next to each other. Okay, so see, I've got my little 4 patches all sewn together, and I want to make sure that I have my pink to make one big square here in the middle, and then I've got my little 2.5-inch squares here in the corners, and then I want to line up my little half square triangles just right so that I get this effect here. So it's making little pointy designs. This color and this color need to be the same color, okay? Very important. These colors are the same. I'm going to use, so you're really only using 3 fabrics in this one. And then for my other ones, I'm going to line those up just like that. Now make sure these 2 colors are the same as that color, so that we get the Weathervane block just right. And make sure that they're pointing at each other like that. Okay, so now, since I have these little 4 patches here like this, what I want to do is I want to sew these 2 together, and these 2 together, and these 2 together, and these 2 together, like that. Sew those like little flying geese in little patches like that, and then we will add our these guys onto with those. So I'm gonna sew those all up, and then we'll start back up. Oh, I suppose it's important that I tell you, because you don't want to lose the point here, because it's gonna you're basically making a little flying geese here when you sew these 2 things together. Now these are little enough. These are little enough to where I don't really have to worry about putting in a pin or anything, but a little dab of the Quilter Select glue right here will make that so it stays together nice. Put a little dab there, making sure my seams are lined up. Put a little bit on the other side there. Okay, so now to rethink, where am I sewing this? I want this seam here. This is where I've messed up before. I go, oh, do I want to sew this seam or that seam? This is the one I want to sew, so that's the one I'm going to take to the machine, and hopefully I won't mess it up. Oh. Okay, so now I'm wondering, why did I put glue in that corner? I don't know. I shouldn't have. That didn't make sense. So I'm just finger press that and put that there. I'm going to take, I want to make sure, I'm going to plan ahead now. I want the yellow to be on the top and the pink to be on the bottom. And I'm going to sew this seam here. So I'm going to use a little dab of glue right here at the corner. And a little bit right there. Because that makes sense. The other way I did it didn't really make sense. you're enjoying this sew along, and I know that there are going to be there's some of these blocks that you've probably never made before. There's some of these blocks I've never made before, and that's kind of part of the fun of doing like a sampler type quilt, is that you can learn all these different blocks, and you can learn like, wow, I want to make a whole quilt out of that block, or I never want to sew that block again as long as I live. Okay, so apparently it's so hot in here that my camera, my other camera, just keeps turning off. So we're just going to go ahead and film the rest of this using this here, this angle here. This is my cell phone, actually. So this is the one I'm using all the time when I do my Facebook Live sale. This is, you know, shameless plug for my every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on Facebook, 10 o'clock Oregon time. See that? Isn't that cute? So now I'm just going to sew these together like that, and then we will have this beautiful block. So now I want to pin at every intersection because I want my seams to all come together. And so I'm picky about that. So I just want to lay them all up next to each other, and I can see some are nesting, some are not, but I still just want to make sure that my seams are lined up. And I better watch what I'm doing here. Okay, slowing down where there's a point. I don't want to chop off my point. A lot of layers of fabric there, so the machine kind of wanted to get stuck on there a little bit. It's out of here. I'm melting. Now, another thing that's important is start with your middle seam and work your way out so that things don't gradually scooch on you, because they will. They will scooch. You wouldn't believe how many little dogs I have in this room right now. I'm watching my mom's dog, which is my dog Sammy's brother. They're from the same litter. And so we have 4. And they're being so good. Because we have 3 little dogs. And either I had them in here with me or out in the hallway where they would just bark at me the whole time I'm filming this. So they're being good puppies. For some reason, all of a sudden while I'm sewing, it reminded me of the movie I saw yesterday. Yesterday I went to go to a movie with some friends. We went and saw Cruella. It was really fun. It was a good movie. I love when they do a movie and it kind of like the play Wicked, where it's like gives you the perspective of the Wicked Witch. This is it kind of gives you the perspective of Cruella, but her backstory. It was good. And they're not paying me to say that. I'm just telling you, I went and saw a movie, which was the first time since pre-COVID that I got to go into a movie theater and eat movie popcorn. I love movie popcorn. Have you gone to a theater yet to see a movie? If you have, I'd like put in the comments and tell us what movie you've seen. Okay, now here you've got 2 points that come together. This is going to make a Flying Geese unit here, so I might even use a little dab of glue right there on the end because I want those to stay right where I want them to be. No shifting or scooching or anything. There we go. And same on this end. Now if you have one of these glue sticks, then just so you know, I do sell the refills at the shop. So at myquiltingloft.com, you can get the refills for the Quilter Select fabric glue stick. Or you can also just get the fabric glue stick if you don't already have that. Because they are really handy, especially when you're sewing points. They, when you're sewing half square triangles together, you want that to stay put. You don't want it to scooch at all. And that little dab of glue, which is your friend, I promise you. If you haven't tried some yet, you need to stop in and get some and give it a try. Alright, what do you think? Isn't this cute? I really like this block. Remember, this is called the Weathervane Block, and it is block number 106, in the Quick and Easy Block Toolbook. And this is the Weathervane Block, and this is block number 9 in our sew along. There are 11 in total. So remember, this one you're going to want to make 4 of them, the 12-inch size. And this one you're going to actually, you haven't used any of your background fabric yet, although some of you have, you've just incorporated it, that's fine. If you haven't, this is one that you're going to want to put a little background fabric in here for your corners and your the sky part here of your Flying Geese. So anyway, well, that's it. So just make 4 of these and we'll be set. And then you know what, when you're done making 4 of these for our mystery quilt, make a few more and make yourself a table runner or something cute. And then I would love to see pictures of what you've made if you go on to our Facebook group. So go to My Quilting Loft on Facebook, click join group if you haven't already done that. And then you can post pictures of what you've made in that Facebook group. And it's so fun to see. Everybody is show and telling all the things that they're making. Everybody show pictures of your blocks that you've made, and show pictures of, say, hey, I also made this table runner or this quilt or this pillow or placemat or bag or whatever using these blocks. I would love to see that. So anyway, well, that's it. So make sure to give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit the little bell notification so that you're notified when a new video comes out. And so anyway, thanks again for tuning in. You guys have a great day. Mwah. Bye. Happy sewing.